Hello, welcome to the Nature's Nexus podcast. Here, we're all about connecting anyone and everyone with our environment. We'll aim to do this through sharing knowledge and discussing various topics that show people how they can be better connected to nature and the world we live in. At the end of each episode, we'll also provide some actionable steps that anybody can take to help make our world a better place. I believe that the impact of everyday people can be profound if we all act and strive to leave the world in a better way than we found it, especially our environment. We'll try to keep things enlightening, informative, and educational, whilst not getting too heavy on the info and topics presented. I'd love anyone and everyone to be able to listen and enjoy tuning in. I hope we can be the nexus between you and the beautiful world we live in and so rely on. This is Jessica York bringing you another episode of Nature's Nexus. Let's go. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Nature's Nexus podcast. Today I have a special guest on named Janeen Robb, and she's from Landcare. Hello Janeen, welcome to the podcast.
Hi Jess, thank you for having me.
No worries, thank you so much for coming on.
That's okay.
So today I have Janeen on. I met her through our local New England Environmental Professionals group here in Armidale and asked her to be a guest on the podcast since Janeen has an environmental background and also a bit of agriculture with a degree in botany and fauna ecology. She later did a postgrad certificate in natural resource management, property planning, water resource management. So she's got a few different things she's dabbled in, as well as a bit of horticulture, soils, and currently works at Landcare, where she takes expressions of interest from landholders and fits this with the available funding to help subsidise the work that they might want done. So they might want to do things such as fencing off existing remnants of koala habitat, or improving habitat by planting koala feed trees. So we'll get a bit more into this for those of you who aren't familiar with Landcare. And I thought Janeen would be a great guest to walk us through it because it could be a bit of an underutilised organisation within your local community that could really help you make a difference on your property. So we'll start off with asking Janeen a couple of the questions I like to ask everybody at the start of each podcast episode. Are you ready, Janeen?
I am.
And the first one is, what is it that you love most about our natural world?
Well, apart from the fact that it keeps us alive, I just love how beautiful and amazingly interesting everything is. There's always more to discover and be amazed by.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with that. It's a beautiful place. And the second one is, how do you get connected to nature? Or when do you feel the most connected to nature?
I tend to go barefoot quite a lot unless I have to put shoes on, like for work. Obviously, I wear work boots for safety reasons.
Yeah.
Snakes and spiky things, etc.
Yes.
I really like sleeping on the ground when I get the chance, like in a swag, like actually camping, not in a tent.
Oh, yep.
It's just really nice.
Yep. Getting back down to earth a little bit.
Like actually sleeping on the ground.
Or under
the sky above you.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful.
Yeah, little things come and sit on you in the morning and...
I don't know if everybody will be a fan of that, so maybe some people might like it.
Little birds.
Oh, yes, that's true. Not so much bugs or spiders or something.
I once woke up with a tree skink behind my ear.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty cool.
Was he trying to keep warm or was just...
I think it thought my ear was a piece of loose bark. That's where they usually hang out. But
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Some people might freak out at that, but that is nice. You're really quite close to nature.
Yeah, just like being in amongst where trees are, like at the creek or the river or even out at the dam here locally.
Yep.
Just like I like to walk along or sit quietly and watch and listen and see what's happening in that space.
Yeah.
When I paint, like I like to paint for fun or draw and stuff. But when I paint, it's nearly always like a natural landscape with trees and sometimes water, lots of clouds, really into clouds.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some other great artists who do a lot of amazing work with cloud paintings as well. I know there's one Western artist I'm quite a fan of on Instagram called Mark Maggiore, and he does some amazing cloud paintings. But yeah, I think painting out in nature would definitely be so relaxing and that's a really good way. And you probably notice things that you might notice otherwise because you're really looking hard at what you're trying to paint.
It's the light, I think. The light always gets me, when you see the shadows in the hills and yes, it changes,
I always love that beautiful light at the end of the day, like just before the sun goes down, everything on a really good day, you might get a really nice golden haze and I love that final light before it disappears.
Nice in the morning too.
It is. Beautiful. Wonderful. Okay, well, let's jump into Landcare and tell everybody a little bit about that because, I think Landcare is a great organisation that can help people get more connected with their environment and the nature around them. This is probably more applicable to landholders. There is a bit of community engagement as well. But yeah, it could be a great organisation. So if people knew more about it. So for those who might not have heard of Landcare or be familiar with it, can you tell us a bit about Landcare and what they do?
Yeah, sure, Jess. Landcare is a national not-for-profit organisation. There's actually over 6,000 Landcare groups across Australia. So there's New South Wales Landcare and there's National Landcare. And then within New South Wales, there's all these separate little Landcare groups. So,
Like the regional ones?
Yeah, even smaller. So Southern New England Landcare is the organisation I work for.
Yep.
And we have like all around, like from Walcott all the way up to around Guyra. There's just all these little local groups. So like a little neighbourhood of farmers have their own group. Like there's one on the way down to Walcott called Harman.
Oh, wow.
Harnham, sorry.
Yeah.
There's one right down near Walcott called Bozo, which is short for Bergenop Zoom Landcare Group.
Yeah.
There's the Friends of Barrymunding Reserve out at Sommeres Ponds. So like each little area, if there's enough people who are keen on doing it, they make their own little group, but you don't necessarily have to be affiliated with a Landcare group to apply for our funding.
So they're probably more just like voluntary environmental, like they're sort of a little group of people that just get together, are they? Like they're not necessarily paid or they're just...
No, they're not paid, but they sometimes apply collectively for funding.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And
for projects they might want to do on the sort of the places they're in that area.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So there's a lot of tight-knit little groups that apply for things.
Yeah, and like they just, can support each other, and it's just like a nice way of connecting with your neighbours, like-minded people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Landcare itself, we're aimed at empowering individuals and communities to sustainably manage the natural and productive landscapes that they're associated with.
Yeah.
So what else do I want to say? So it's about building resilient ecosystems and communities.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of looking after the land, but also looking after the people who look after the land.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because it can get hard. Like when I suppose people remember COVID, it's not that long ago, but around about the same time there was drought and then fire and then floods and then lice plagues.
Yeah,
and
it's just
it
one
can
thing
really
after the other.
start to tax people. Yeah, it gets really hard. And so we do quite a bit of other stuff around empowering people through mental health support and things like that as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it is good.
Yeah, okay.
There's more of that than I realised when I first started working with them. I'd only really heard about the environmental stuff.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a lot of a supporting type role and really looking after all the landholders to make sure they can keep going on and doing what they love doing, especially when they face all those unpredictable challenges and they really rely on their farm for their income. That's super important. So, why is this work sort of so important enough that it would develop an organisation like Landcare?
Well, everyone wants to eat, so we really need farmers, and we need to keep farming the land effectively by supporting landholders to farm in ways that improve the land.
Yeah.
I feel like sustainable farming is a little bit out of date now. We actually really need to start getting back to regenerative, because keeping it at a sustainable level in the conditions a lot of the land is, it's not really viable.
Yeah.
It's getting too expensive, So landholders, they need to be able to keep their areas productive. And if you can include natural habitat and keep that happening as well, you get all these, what do you call it? Like side benefits.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's important because we all need to eat. So we need to be able to keep farming land effectively, supporting landholders to farm in ways that improve the land, including natural habitat in and around agricultural production areas.
Yeah, which is the bottom line, really. That's at the end of the day, that's very important for everybody. Yeah. And like you were saying, regenerative farming really comes back into it, because you want to support farms being sustainable and making the most out of being able to continue being productive and looking after the land and the environment that they're on.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's benefits that come from having natural habitat around, because Like you'll have little birds that might come and eat the bugs that you don't want, or like even down in the soil level, like there's so much going on below the ground in terms of biology.
Yeah.
If you're not working with it,
yeah,
you're probably damaging it.
Yeah. So when you sort of improve one thing, it can have, rebounding effects on other things where it can really benefit the whole ecosystem, which comes back to benefit the whole farm, really.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah. It's all connected. Everything's connected. Even though you've fenced a bit off and you're farming it, it's still part of the natural environment.
Yeah, it's still part of the bigger picture and the land connected to that. Yeah, definitely. So do you have some project at the moment that you're targeting a lot of your funding to?
Yeah, at the moment, you did mention koala funding because I was talking to you about that earlier. So most of the funding we have at the moment is for koala habitat restoration and protection.
Because are they endangered right now, or they're in a lot of trouble anyway, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, and that's mostly through habitat loss and fragmentation.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of property development and just developments in general that have been happening that are taking away all their forests. So I think when you come back to perhaps the koala habitat on farmland is a good way to try and save it a little bit and bounce back in those areas.
It's partly climate change too, and because it's getting really hot out west, and it's like there used to be a lot of koalas around Gunnedah.
Yeah.
And we have more here now than they have there.
Wow.
And that's largely because we don't get the hot days as hot and for as long because of our altitude.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, we're kind of like a little refuge area up there on the tablelands.
And I know the koalas get most of their water from eating the gum leaves, but I guess they still need some water from water sources, so I guess they must be drying up a bit with all the heat too.
Well, I don't know.
Or do they actually get heat stress?
They do get heat stress, but I think dehydrated as well.
Yeah.
When the drought was happening, people were finding dead koalas at the bottom of trees.
Oh, gosh.
Like out around Gunnedah.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is the water content in the leaves isn't as high.
Oh, true, because the trees are...
Yeah, because the trees are struggling.
Have less moisture with the heat.
Yeah. And probably the toxins that they have to deal with are more concentrated too. You know how they...
Oh, the toxins they have to deal with in the eucalyptus.
Yes, yeah. So probably there's that as well.
Yep.
But when it rains, they will lick water off the branches as it's running down.
Oh, yes.
Like it's probably better to be licking off a smooth gum tree than a stringy bark, I'd imagine. I can't imagine licking a stringy bark.
Yeah. Probably be harder to get the moisture off it too, and probably just...
Maybe they suck stringy bark. But, But anyway, when it hasn't been raining, you don't get that opportunity. So they started installing koala drinkers to give them an opportunity to have a little top-up somewhere.
And what do they look like? Are they...
It's like you can look them up online. They were calling them blinky drinkers, but they seem to be calling them tree troughs now. A guy out at Gunnedah sort of invented them.
Yeah.
It's like a big keg in a tree on a stand, and it just sends water down into a little tiny trough.
Oh, okay.
And it's the whole thing's kind of on a stand so that the trough is butting up against a tree, so they don't actually have to come down to the ground to get to the trough.
Yeah, okay. So they just install them in high koala habitat areas, generally?
Yeah, I think Wires was running a program. I'm not sure if it's still active. And you could ask to get one, and they were giving them out for free, I'm pretty sure. They had a whole lot of funding through different people or different bodies who'd put together to build a whole lot of these koala drinkers.
Yep.
And we actually got some here in Armidale, like Landcare I think we had 10 of them out around the place.
Yeah.
They put them out after the drought.
Yeah.
So
sort of defeated the purpose a little bit because
it was a little bit too late.
It was soon, and
it would have been better to have them during the drought.
Yeah.
They did not look at them. They put camera traps on them, like motion sensor cameras.
Yeah.
So that's actually one of the first things I did with Landcare was looking at the footage from all the camera traps and seeing who'd actually been using them.
Yeah. And also to test their success a little bit, I suppose.
Yeah. And like in other places, they were a lot more successful, but given it wasn't actually a drought anymore, they probably didn't need to use them.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do is try and relocate those drinkers that we have to places like Rocky Ridges, for example, where we know there's a koala population and it's quite a long way to go to get free water.
Yeah.
So like they will, if they need to, go and get a drink.
Yep.
But if it's a long way to do that, and that can be a bit risky for them travelling over land, like
Yeah.
where there's potential predators or fences to get caught in, it would be nice to just have a little
have it
drop fill. Yeah.
Yep. So do you know if there's something that is still readily available for people to get?
I was actually about to email Wires. I spoke to someone and they didn't know, and the guy who knows was away.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of getting an answer back from an email. I can let you know, and you can let people know.
Yeah, for sure, because that could be a really good way, like an easy way for people to get connected, you know.
And
it
looks like it's still available.
Support the koalas.
Yeah, sometimes things just aren't taken down off websites, you know, when they're volunteer run. And I'm not sure if they're still available.
Or they could have all been used, or somebody hasn't continued their production or something. They're a good idea though. Yeah, and it's good. Like anybody could use them. Yeah,
and there's other ones too. Like there's ones where it's just like a tube, like a big piece of PVC that kind of curls around like a J.
Yep.
And I'm not sure how all the water doesn't come out at once. There must be some, I don't know. Maybe it's just pressure because there's a lid on it.
Yeah, okay. I guess if people really wanted to get creative, they could really make something like that themselves.
I
just need to know which trees to put them in.
Yeah, well, if you've got koalas around, it's easy enough to see their poo under the trees.
Yeah, that is a
quite
good way to
deep poo.
Yeah, are they like an oval shape, aren't they?
More like a cigar.
A cigar shape. Yeah.
Probably the best poo in the world. Like if you want to get into poo,
Oh, I guess people can always Google koala stats.
Yeah, nicer smelling poo. Yeah,
it smells like
they're really hard. It smells really nice. They're quite hard. Yeah, you know, like if you try to squish them, you can squish a kangaroo poo or a possum poo with your fingers, but these are really quite hard. To actually try hard to snap them.
Yeah.
Okay. And they do smell quite nice.
I think the other way people can look for signs of koala is their markings on trees too, isn't it? Like sometimes they leave the claw marks as they're climbing up and down trees.
Yeah, you just got to check you're looking at the difference between koalas and maybe goannas or cats. But you can look that up too. I won't bother trying to explain it.
Yeah. So people
that I can share. Yeah, you can also, on YouTube, there's recordings of the sounds they make, and that's a good way of knowing if they're in your area.
Yeah.
Should the male is really loud.
They make quite a strange sound, don't they, too? Like it's kind of
it's almost like, it sounds like a big cat to me. Like it sounds like there's actually like a tiger or something.
Scary, but you think, it's just a koala, it's okay.
Yeah, it actually sounds really, like, if you didn't know what it was, it would scare you.
Yeah. No, I think I've heard one before and I saw it and I couldn't believe it was a koala. It was a little bit
way too cute for their noise.
I agree. So, getting back to Landcare a little bit and the funding. So, I guess the other potential upside of, the support work that Landcare does and helping with, agriculture and farmers and trying to look after their environment, especially if you're getting into something like regenerative agriculture, that also can have besides having a positive environmental impact or helping you get better connected with different projects you can do to enhance the habitat on your land, it also has some sort of economic impact.
Yeah, it certainly does. So regenerative agriculture tends to reduce costs by you not only improve the crop yield, but you improve the crop quality without all the costs of fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides that you might usually have been buying doing it traditionally.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to say traditionally. Yeah. Because probably traditionally was more like regenerative and then traditionally became modern agriculture. Modern agriculture isn't really traditional, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of the farming...
People call it traditional, but...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sort of. Yeah, I think, I just don't know.
It got very industrialized very quickly when they started putting chemicals into the picture.
Yeah.
When agriculture turned into a big business type thing.
Yeah.
And then it was all about increasing production by using chemicals.
Yeah, to increase fertilizer and everything. And that was probably more efficient at the time, but not the best for maybe the long run.
So, sorry. Yeah. It can also increase resilience to market volatility and extremes of climate events, which are going to keep happening as the climate changes. We're not necessarily going to be really hot all the time, but the hot days will be hotter, the cold days will be colder, the storms will be wilder. Yeah. There's just more energy in the system, so when there's an extreme event, it's more and more extreme. Like you're always hearing them say, record this, record that.
Yeah,
they've been saying that on the weather for a long time.
Yeah.
And
it's still hitting new records every year.
Yeah.
And I guess another good thing with the economical side of Landcare is people don't have to you guys help them with the cost side of things because you're not for profit. You're sort of, like you said, farmers often apply for grants and things. So
yeah, well, it can be quite expensive to do this kind of stuff, and you're not straight away getting any economic benefit from planting trees on your land. Eventually, you might get some kind of reward.
Definitely a long term.
Yeah. But we get most of our funding comes from government, like from the federal or the state government.
Yeah.
And then we get to use that money, which is basically taxpayers' money, to help share the costs with the farmers, so that we never actually pay for the whole of something. We will only give them part of the money back. So like, it might be, like it might actually cost $10 to $15 or something to put up per metre to put up a wildlife friendly fence.
Yeah.
But we will give like $5 per metre back to the farmer once they've done it.
Yeah, okay.
So they have to go ahead and do all the work.
Yeah.
Like we have an agreement first. There's the expression of interest stage. And then we find the funding that it fits under whatever they want to do.
Yep.
We make up an agreement.
Yep.
And then once they've done the work, we go out and check that it's really been done. They show us the receipts.
Yep.
And then we give them whatever we'd agreed to subsidise them. So it'll be so much per plant or so much per... Sometimes we pay for getting rid of weeds. Like if it's like koala habitat and there's a great big infestation of blackberry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might pay them to help control that.
Yeah.
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 So, but yeah, people just keep the receipts. We show them. Yeah. They show us. We see what they've done, and then our accountant person, our bookkeeper, does all the magic paying bit.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good summary of the process, and I guess of what people can expect if they ever want to try and do a project with Landcare or getting funding to do.
It's just nice to get a little bit back.
Yeah, definitely.
And the thing is, because we're actually a not-for-profit, I'm just going to spruik a little bit here.
Yeah.
We, I said we get most of our money from government grants. Yep. All those grants have stipulations that you've got to adhere to.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be this, it's got to be that, it's got to be, we have a target of area we've got to make, we've got so many trees we've got to plant or...
Yeah, there's all the conditions that come with the fund.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And that's the tricky bit about fitting people's projects in with them.
Yeah.
But we can also take donations.
Yeah.
I think when they do donate, you have to do it on the New South Wales Landcare page, but you can say specifically for your area.
Yeah.
So like you can't just donate to us at Southern New England Landcare, but you can say it's for us.
Yeah.
And then we actually get that money and there's no stipulations attached to that. So we can do...
You get a lot more freedom with your project.
Like if there's someone who I don't know, just someone who maybe their area isn't big enough to help meet any target, but they really want to do something and they might actually need help with the planting as well.
Yeah.
We can maybe use that money to help those people.
Yeah.
Because often the money is only for the plants and the fencing. It's not actually for the planting.
Yeah, okay.
So like the Armidale Tree Group, who we work quite closely with, and in Backtracks also, they will do planting for people.
Yeah.
But our funding very seldom covers that.
Well, I guess at least you can then recommend that next step. It's like, we can help you with this part of the process, and then if you like, we know people who can help you with the next stage.
Yeah.
So...
But if we have funding that isn't from the government and it's just from donations, not only are you reducing your taxable income, which is probably good for you at tax time, but then we have a little pool of money that we can play with more freely without these strings attached, where we can actually get people, more bespoke help.
Yeah, and don't have to meet different conditions that might otherwise stop them from using that funding money.
Yeah, so I'd really like to push it, especially with organisations that might be having too much income, like businesses that are doing really well and they want to reduce their tax.
Yeah.
Or their taxable income.
Yeah.
It's really nice if they can send some our way.
Yeah, and I guess it's a good way to give back to the community or just even give back to your local natural areas.
Yep, because you're going to get taxed anyway and then the government might do whatever they want with it. But if you do this, you're actually putting it where you want to go.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
So
benefits of non-profit organisations.
Landcare hat out.
Yeah, definitely. Do you get many donations or?
We get a few. We've had a couple of the local environmental consultancies have donated to us.
Yep.
Like I'd really like to go around and talk to, some businesses around town and actually make it a thing.
Yeah, see if they're interested in trying to get some more.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you have ideas what you would like to do in local areas with that money? Do you like to have a vision of where it's going?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you want to share a little bit?
Well, at the moment, this is all koala money.
Yeah, it's got a lot of koala work going on at the moment.
It's lucky that koalas are cute because that kind of helps them get money. Like, I
help
knew a guy who
he reportive.
Yeah, he was working on malleefowl and he really struggled to get funding, even though they were really threatened because they just weren't cute. People didn't
just care about
them the same. Yeah. But there's other things we can do. Like, say, if people want to enhance habitat around a dam, that can be really helpful. But we don't have any money for that at the moment.
Yeah.
And things like off-stream watering, if people want to fence off a creek, then you've excluded your watercourse.
Yeah.
But if we have money that's just, the no strings attached money, we can help people, like subsidise some, like a pump and a water line, a trough.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, so people can actually water their stock without letting them go into the creek.
Yeah, and I think I've seen a study about this because it's actually much more beneficial to fence off dams and waterways and then pump the water to a trough because it looks after the ecosystem around the waterway much better. But I've seen it actually has, I think I'd have to look up the paper to be sure, but I'm pretty sure I heard that it also has a positive effect on your livestock production because they're getting better quality water that's more filtered and cleaned from the natural environment. It improves their productivity rates, like their growth rates and things. So it actually has a beneficial effect for everybody, really, like a win-win situation.
And an extra win, you can actually organise it with your troughs and your fencing so that you can use the water points to get your stock to self-muster.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
Like if you make the water only accessible in a certain place, they're gonna come to it.
Yeah.
And you can kind of get them fenced off in that area, like because you can have portable troughs, like you can move it from one area to another.
Yeah.
So
you sort of help a little bit with funding for those sorts of projects.
Or if we had,
if you had the more,
if we have money that isn't just for koala trees and wildlife-friendly fencing.
Yeah.
It's pretty much all the money we have at the moment. Apart from, there's a few drought resilience type funding still, not as drought resilience. I'm not even actually sure what it stands for because it's not what I do in Landcare, but some of the mental health funding, that's not about koalas.
Yeah, so there are some other aspects of it. Well, there's lots of different aspects, I guess, to what Landcare does in other different areas. They might be able to help. So really, people should just reach out and no harm in asking to see.
Yeah, and I'm not nodding my head for the people who aren't watching. Yes, Jess.
Cool. Okay. So moving on from farmers, I've heard that Landcare also does some community engagement events. Could you tell us some more about those?
Well, we've had koala tree planting days here in town, like along the creeklands, and the River Care group. I'm sorry, I was going to look this up for you. I was going to contact them and find out, but you can. There's a contact on our website, which is Southern New England Landcare. You can contact someone from the River Care group. They actually have a working bee once a month.
Yep.
And we can go and help them along the creek there. And
just anybody can rock up, or do you need to RSVP? Or
I don't think you need to RSVP.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I can
find out when it's on and go and help. They're usually planting trees or weeding or maybe preparing a site to be planted.
Which is a really good way. Anybody can go and get more connected to nature and give back a little bit to the environment. I can probably get the details for those links or for the Landcare page off you at the end and then share them and everybody can use them to look these things up.
Yep. They've recently started doing a thing called cuppa chats, which is a way of people just connecting, like people who
with each other.
Yeah,
just a bit of a mental health thing.
Yeah. And there's a kids drawing competition that's been going on over the holidays.
Oh yeah, is that with Landcare or with River Care?
Yeah, this is all with Landcare.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, lovely.
So, there's different things that happen from time to time. They ran a thing down at Walker a little while ago for women, and it was a lady who'd had a terrible accident and she's in a wheelchair now.
Okay.
But she's got a whole new life and she travels around doing inspirational speaking. And while she's doing it, she teaches people how to knit on their arms.
Oh, okay.
So instead of using knitting needles or even big chunky knitting needles, you're just knitting on your arms.
Yeah.
With great big skeins of wool.
Yeah.
So everyone who went to this thing got a beautiful merino throw, like a bed throw kind of blanket thing that they made on the spot while they were there.
Yeah.
Listening to this lady talk, and they all got to hang out together and, I think they had lunch and nibblies and things. So, there's all different kinds of events that they do.
Yeah, so lots of different community engagement things people can get involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how do you think Landcare can help people get connected back to nature and the environment? I think we've discussed lots of ways, but maybe just to summarise.
Okay. So caring for the land, whether it's on your own patch or a public space like along the creek, it's a really great way to get connected with nature because you're outside, you're improving the habitat by planting or removing weeds. You get a real sense of satisfaction and you've got your hands dirty. You know you're doing something good with, like you're actually helping in some way.
Yeah.
So it's just a really nice thing to do. We are living alongside other animals, which in many cases are suffering because of what we do. So helping the other animals and plants, it reminds us that we're not actually separate from them. We are part of the environment.
Yeah.
They're part of our environment.
Yeah.
And, we need to be a little bit more careful about how we operate in it.
Yeah.
For so long it's just been about development and progress.
Yeah.
And it's
definitely.
That's why the koalas are in the position they're in.
Yeah.
Because not all development and all progress is very sensitive.
Yeah.
Most of it isn't.
And I think some people might not have any sympathy for certain species, but I think people forget that they're part of a greater ecosystem. Like you mentioned earlier, like everything's part of a greater whole and everything's linked.
Yep.
Quite often when you damage one thing, you might not notice it straight away, but it's going to have flow-on effects.
Yep, for sure.
And, things are in an ecosystem for a reason. Like they all have a role.
Yeah, we don't even know what all the organisms in an ecosystem or a food web are.
Yeah.
So there's no way we can know what all the connections are.
Yeah.
All you can do is try and get things back as close to what we understand the natural state to be.
Yeah.
To get things
functioning
more healthily.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess people might argue that, evolution, maybe that has something to do with it. Like things will evolve or things might change, but it's like, well, all this is happening too rapidly. Like evolution takes a really long time for things to adjust and change to. Yeah, this is things happening and this is all too rapid for that.
Yeah, there's a name for it. Like we've had the Holocene and the Pleistocene. They call this the Anthropocene, where the main driving force of change is actually humans.
Yeah. And I think the scary thing that we need to humble ourselves by remembering is that, we rely on all these species, but they don't really rely on us, I don't think. Like maybe they rely on us to a degree. I'm not familiar, but most of the time I just know that we rely on most of these things for a healthy world. I don't know how much they actually need us.
It's more they don't need all the shit we give them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, am I allowed to say shit?
I guess so.
I just did. Yeah, like they can probably do without a lot of the negative things that we give back.
Yeah.
And so the more positive connection type things we can do, the better.
Yeah, definitely. And then maybe if we made more positive changes in that way, they might, I don't know, benefit from us more, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And that's our little blurb. Go ahead. I think it's good to remind people sometimes.
Yeah, we are animals. People forget that we're animals, I think, is the main thing. They talk about plants and animals and then people as if we're this separate thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to a degree we're separate, but at the end of the day we're a mammal, which a lot of animals are mammals, and we're just a very unique one.
Yeah, like ants think they're separate, but that's just the lens they're looking through.
True, it's all perspective.
Yeah, it's all about perspective, but you've got to realise there's a bigger picture and we're part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess it's, you have to make that choice, what role you want to play in the bigger picture. Do you want to benefit it or make it worse? I guess.
Yeah, the really, I feel like the baseline, I don't know, maybe it's not the baseline, but the fact that what we breathe out is what trees breathe in, and we need to breathe in what they breathe out.
Yeah.
Like, that's just such a beautiful, simple interaction.
That reminds me of a post I saw on social media a little while ago. I think I might have shared it on the Nature's Nexus page. If I didn't, I should. And it had this beautiful comparison of, so many different things throughout the world of how they're so similar. I can't remember it now, which is useless, but it's like
rivers and veins?
And they have like rivers and veins or
lungs and trees?
Yeah, that's exactly what I saw. Yeah, all these different things, and it was amazing how much they all linked up.
Clouds and brains?
Yeah, I can't remember. There was a few. There was, at least 10 different comparisons, but very much like that, how so many different systems look so similar, but they're for something completely different.
Yeah.
Yes, they're all got like the same design, and that to me makes you feel really connected and really linked in to everything, and it reminds you how much you are a part of this world because you've got so much of the same biology and the way things are made up.
Yep.
It was really cool to see. I'll have to find it and share it, but yeah. So, what are some of your favourite things about Landcare?
What I've really enjoyed since I started working there is just meeting new people, and I'm really like getting to go in the little side-by-side out into people's back paddocks and help them think about what they want to do and how best to do it.
Yeah.
Like, help them find an efficient way of fitting in where they want to put their plants or what bit they want to protect, fitting that in with their production system.
That does sound fun.
Yeah, it is. It's really good.
Lots of new opportunities and ideas floating around, networking.
Yeah, and just seeing new places. Like one of my favourite things is to go down a new road. And I've gone down a lot of roads I've been close to, but never quite gone down since I've been doing this work, and not just down the roads, but over the hills.
Yeah.
So like you see what you see from the road when you're driving along, but it's really cool to see what's over the hill.
Yeah, and so much of the private land.
Valleys.
Yeah, that's right. And so much private land is beautiful that only, the owners and I guess their family and friends get to see. So I guess perks of a role like that, you do get to see more and get out and about and enjoy the local area a bit more than you otherwise might get to see.
Yeah, like you see the creek that comes through town, and if you've been out to Demerit Dam, that's the same creek.
Yeah.
And there's a little creek coming down into the dam from up the back of Mount Juval.
Yeah.
Like, I've been here a long, long time, and I'd never been past there.
Yeah.
But the other day with work, I got to go right up near where that creek starts, and it was just so cool.
Yeah.
It's like massive big grass trees up there.
Yeah.
Massive. Like the biggest ones I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, that's definitely a cool...
And koalas. Those koalas.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, because it's just that sort of thing's been really good. I've loved it. So like, just getting
all that access.
Yeah. And over the years, like since about I think 1995 was the last time I'd ever done any field work environmentally. Yeah. And ever since then, it was just all in front of a computer.
Yeah.
Until I started doing this again, which is
got you more out and about a little bit.
2 years ago now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to be doing some environmental work that isn't just looking at a screen.
Yeah, and it's so rewarding too.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, that's good. And
it's just really nice that all the landholders that we're working with, they're actually very like-minded. Like, they're keen people who want to be doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of, knowing what you can do and knowing what the opportunities and the options are.
Yeah, and, like, we aren't a government organisation telling you what to do. There is a little bit of that fitting into the grant, but most people are kind of flexible enough to be able to do that in some way. But yeah, we're there to help share the cost of doing these good things for the environment. So
yeah, that's beautiful.
Join up, let us help.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's very good. So moving on, so maybe just to finish up, maybe with some, personal reflections from your time. You've obviously had a very environmental-based career and time through life so far. Do you have anything else you want to add, that we might not have covered so far that you'd like to share?
Yeah, my dad was very interested in the environment. Mm-hmm. So I grew up knowing who all the little birds around us were and knowing about the geology. Yeah. Like knowing about all the rocks.
Yeah. So you had a strong influence there early on.
He didn't really know all the frogs, but
there's a lot to know.
Yeah. I had a frog hospital when I was really little. Yeah, I used to go to swimming training in the morning, and I trained the trainer, like the guy who was our swimming trainer who ran the pool. I had him trained to catch the frogs when he was doing the morning, like they would
the morning
killing leaves out. Yeah.
Yep.
He would catch all the frogs because it was down on the river flat.
Yeah.
And so often frogs would get in the pool and they would get upset by the chlorine, so they'd be quite sick.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'd actually be dead already.
Yeah.
But he would put them in empty lolly boxes for me, and I would take them home and fix them up in my little frog hospital. I didn't do anything to them.
Do that? Did you put them in fresh water?
Or I just put them in fresh water. They did it themselves, really. I didn't fix them up. I just gave them somewhere safe to be until they felt better.
Yeah, and hopped away.
Yeah.
That's very cute.
Yeah, so I've just, I've always been into this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that my dad tuned us into that so early,
yeah.
Like when they have Earth Hour and everyone turns their lights off for that hour.
Yeah.
My whole life's been Earth Hour. Like, you do not leave a room and leave the light on.
Yeah.
You don't leave the tap running while you're cleaning your teeth.
Yeah.
You do recycle. You do make compost. All that sort of stuff.
All those little things.
Yeah, we've always done that.
Yeah.
Because Dad just made us do it.
Yeah.
And he's nearly 90 now. And
yeah.
It's just.
And little things like that, people might not think it makes a difference, because I think it would.
It does, yeah.
Don't leave that light on while you're gone for, you leave the room or because sometimes I've been in households where people do that and they'll leave the fan going or they'll leave a light on. I'll come back and I'll just think, what a waste.
Yeah, you just don't need to.
I mean, they might not even think of it, they might forget or they mightn't really care. But I don't know, I just think if people could be more mindful of all those little things, it would definitely contribute
being mindful
to something.
Yeah. And it might not feel like what you're doing as an individual is very much, but when you add up all the little individual things,
yeah,
it actually does have an impact.
Yeah. Be interesting. You probably look up somewhere like, leaving a light on during the day when you're out, how much energy or something that actually consumes. If they actually became aware of it, then they might care more.
People leave their TVs on. Those really big TVs, they actually put out so much energy.
Yeah.
Feel how hot they get and everything like that.
Yeah.
They're really quite wasteful.
Yeah.
In terms of energy, people just leave them on.
I saw something that I wasn't aware of lately, but how AI has become so prevalent now and ChatGPT. And I saw a thing, I don't know how accurate it was, but when people put in one question into ChatGPT, like the energy required for it to output the answer is actually quite surprising. I think it's
crazy. It's actually really bad. Don't use it just for fun. Save it for and watch it.
How energy consuming it was because it's run by computers and computers are run by electricity. Yeah. And it just said AI actually uses so much power
and water.
Yeah.
The amount of water
to cool down the computers because all the computers running that get really hot, so they've got to have water pumping through, I don't know, the tubes or wherever, but it helps cool them down because, like you said before, computers get really hot when they're running. So, I don't even know if people are aware of things like that, but yeah.
I think
takes the fun out of a bit when you know that sort of information, but that's the reality of it.
One thing I need to do is actually get in and delete all the emails I don't need and want. I've just got, I need to actually do that.
Yeah.
I've got so many emails in my email and that's all using energy, having them all stored.
Yeah,
I don't
memory. Yeah, that's an interesting point too.
They're all there somewhere,
Yeah, there's so many little things people can do, to cut back and be mindful about energy consumption. Anyways, we've gotten off track. Oh, well, I guess we sort of finished talking about Landcare, really. That sort of wrapped up everything. I guess, is there anything else you're developing an interest in now besides Landcare on your environmental or nature conscious journey?
Yeah, well, I've kind of gotten involved in mental health. I'm not exactly sure. I think it kind of happened over COVID and my daughter was studying mental health. She does community mental health support work.
Yep.
And because I was working from home, I could hear her having her lessons when she was doing TAFE.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, because we were in our open plan house, so
and it'd be interesting to hear some of the things.
And I started listening to a podcast that once a month did a mental health podcast.
Yeah.
As an episode specifically about a mental health issue. And I just sort of started thinking about it more and more. And I've always been really interested in art, ever since I was really little. So I started thinking it'd be really cool to maybe do something about mental health support using art therapy.
Yeah.
And bringing in, not just art therapy as in here we're going to do a painting, but actually doing environment, nature-based type art therapies.
Yeah.
So, at some point, I'm not sure I'm going to have...
When or how.
But one day, it depends on my what happens with work this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so where things go.
Yeah, I want to start looking into that.
Yeah. That sounds really interesting, studying an art therapy with nature, because I know that, nature can have a lot of health benefits, and then, I don't know, a lot of people enjoy art and it can be very calming as well, and getting your creativity going can be really good for your mental health.
Bathing.
What was that?
Forest bathing. There's actually there's a Japanese word that means forest bathing, which they call it, and I can't remember what that is right now.
Is that different to just going for a swim in a natural place, or?
It's bathing yourself in the air of the tree that the trees have breathed out.
Right.
So you're not actually swimming anywhere.
Oh.
They're just calling it bathing.
Oh.
It's just like being in a tree place.
Oh, okay. So literally just being in the woods.
Well, it's not just that. There's other stuff going on as well as just the air. There's other chemicals that are being released by the trees that are actually really beneficial to our health.
What chemicals?
I can't tell you their names.
Might have to delve into that in another episode. It's about that. I just know about, trees taking in carbon dioxide and pushing out.
No, there's just so much more going on. And my gut feeling is that there's this connection there between humans and trees, or probably all animals, not just us. I'm sure the trees aren't doing it just for people. Probably birds get better when they're around the trees as well.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
It's probably not just trees. It's probably all plants.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that we actually used to, like, we're kind of still like Neanderthals, and we're adapted to living in a forest.
Yeah.
And like,
or just living so much closer to the environment.
There's like, there's some kind of
symbiotic relationship.
And maybe it's more to our benefit than the trees, but I think it's maybe because of our long ago heritage.
Yeah.
And like where we actually come from as a species.
Well, I mean, that's even like when you hear about grounding, like just standing in bare feet on the ground and the health benefits that has with, helping, is it take the negative ions or something out of your body, and, it helps just with the flow of energy a bit, and it relieves stress and cools your body down or something. Like there's all those natural benefits of literally touching the earth with your bare skin. Yeah. Oh, there could be so many things you go into with the art therapy. That could be really interesting.
Yeah, and just like being in the bush playing, like,
like doing the old mud paintings and
that's all that. Just like even decorating yourself with mud, or like making little things out of, like making jewelry out of leaves and grass and wearing it.
Yeah, like your daisy chains or doing those little sailboats people used to do down the creek. That are always fun. Have little races. You get so creative. I guess there's lots of different things you could do with it if you really delved into it. I'm sure there's already people doing it.
There is. Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. But yeah, I would like to do a version of it that's my thing.
Yeah. Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we've just got one last question for you, Janeen. And this is the question from our previous guest, since I've started doing this thing on the podcast where I get each guest to leave a question for the next one, which is a little bit ambiguous, but I hoped it would be fun. And our previous guest has asked a nice question, which is a good summary for today, really. And it's, what are you hoping people will get out of this episode? Or, what are maybe some key takeaways?
Okay. Key takeaways. I think that getting involved with Landcare is a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, and this can be not just landholders, right? Like even community can still get involved. Like people living in town can still get involved to some degree. So it can apply to anybody.
We have, like sometimes we have people who have funding to do a planting, but for some reason they can't actually do it themselves, and they can't afford to get the contract tree planters to do it.
Yeah.
So like at times I will call out. You were on the end of an email that I sent out asking for volunteers just recently.
Yeah. So like that's going to call on anybody.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Like every now and again that happens. So there's always an opportunity to get involved in actually planting.
Yeah.
Or weeding or things like that. What am I hoping people get out of this? So yeah, you can be involved. You can also be involved by donating money, which is a really cool way for us and everyone to be involved, because it's like win-win-win.
Yep.
Win for us, win for whoever gets the funding, and win for you in terms of reducing your taxable income.
Yeah. And even just that good feeling of, it's almost not quite a charity, but it's almost just, making a good donation.
It actually is. We're a registered charity.
Oh, there you go.
But not our actual Southern New England Landcare, but the New South Wales one is. So we
as a whole,
have it as our separate organisation.
Yeah.
But that's why you've got to donate to the New South Wales Landcare website.
Yeah.
But then specify in it that it's for us. Otherwise, it'll just get shared out.
Yeah.
If you're local.
Yeah.
I guess people from anywhere can hear.
Yeah.
Your podcast.
Yes, they can.
We're in Armidale, and it's Southern New England Landcare that I work for. So
yeah.
It's the same wherever you are. There's Landcare groups all over the place.
Yeah.
So there'll be a local one.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Key takeaways, just get into it. Nature, get into it. You're part of it. Get into it.
Yeah. And I guess that almost brings us into our actionable step that I like to leave for anybody at the end of the podcast. Something that anyone and everyone can do really is, like you said, just get into it and get involved with nature somehow. I don't know what a good example might be that you might like to share. It could be as simple as anything.
Well, I really like to look at the clouds and imagine what's coming next with the weather.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little bit tricky.
Seeing if you can tune in and tell without looking at your weather app.
No, learn what the clouds mean.
Yeah.
When you see a certain kind of cloud, it's a sign that there's a cold front coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there are all the different types of clouds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it got really unpredictable during the drought, because you would see the signs that a cold front was coming, then it may or may not come sometime in the next 3 days.
Yeah, okay.
But it's getting a bit more. Like lately, it's been like you see that and you know it's coming.
Yeah.
And it may or may not give rain still. But
that's a really
just that kind of thing. And like often there's different layers of clouds going on, and just thinking about what's actually happening. Yeah. In the air. Yeah. And that's just cool. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful.
I really like it.
Yeah, I like that. That makes me feel calm just thinking about it, and a cool way to like tune in, and you sort of can tell a little bit about your local area, what is going to happen just by looking at the sky a little bit more. And there's so much more to it than you realise. Because we probably get lost in our apps and just look at the app and this is what's happening. But
look up.
You don't realise that you have the intelligence to actually look, and you can know without the technology.
Yeah, and you might see a couple of eagles circling, or you just don't know what you're going to see.
All those little things you might notice if you're more. Okay. Oh, well, thank you so much, Janeen, for attending. I guess that brings an episode to the end. Until next time, and I will post some information about, Landcare and, I don't know, different links in case anybody wants to get any further information on the
help you with that
podcast description. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Janeen.
That's all right. Thank you for having me, Jess.
See you all next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Nature's Nexus podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and found some value in what was shared today. I look forward to presenting more knowledge and sharing ways we can connect to nature in future episodes, and hope you tune in with me to listen, learn, and act. Thank you, and until next time.